Hi everybody, welcome back to From Dungeons to Starships, and this our second parter about the entry that we're making into the 25th anniversary miniature competition for one of my favourite games, that being Mordheim. Now, for those of you who follow the channel, hopefully you would have seen the first part in this video when we were looking at putting together the diorama that we're going to enter into the grimdark category that's been set up as part of the competition. Now, within that, we are given pretty much a wide berth in terms of what we could put together to actually be an entry for that category within the competition. It could be a single model, it could be a warband, but the way we're going to go down it is we've decided to create this little diorama based on various movie titles and stuff like that we talked about in the first part of this video. So if you need to catch up, hopefully go and have a look at that video first before you dive into this one with us. Now, this episode is going to be more about now putting together our focal point miniature for the diorama. We've done all the background things with loads of skeleton kits from Green Stuff World and little rat kits, etc, etc, and we've tried to make the whole aesthetic of the bridge, the tumble down bridge that we're going to be work with us in terms of trying to deliver a bit of aesthetic about that rundown and ruined type city that we're going to be dealing with when talking about the whole aesthetic of Mordheim. So what we're going to get our main protagonist of our little diorama, our little story to be doing, is fishing off the end of those bridges, and not capturing fish itself, but maybe using some kind of rod to try and pull skeletons and zombies and stuff like that out of the quagmire and the mud that's going to be surrounding the base of this bridge, where a lot of traitors, thieves and stuff like that would have been hanging up in the gibbet have just been dumped into the water and left to decompose and rot and sink to the bottom. But now, with the power of the Weirdstone that's coming to the city after the crash of the comet, after the crash of the comet that we're going to be dealing with now, with these reanimated undead ne'er-do-wells coming back to maybe seek a bit of a vengeance, and our main protagonist is going to be trying to reap the benefits of having these guys alongside him when going in and investigating and trying to find bits and pieces within the ruined city itself. So one of the things that was asked of me is where I go about finding bits for these builds that I put together. Now, again, I've been kit bashing for a number of years. I've been in the hobby for a fair number of years, so I bought kits along the way that a lot of the times you end up not using all the parts. Sometimes there's spares on those sprues themselves, so you ended up just amalgamating a bits box of various items and various bits and pieces. Now, what I did with this my bits box was that I decided that it was time for a bit of a cleanse of the old bits box. So there was just stuff in there that I was just never going to probably get around to using, and it's probably just going to be, you know, just languishing in the box, never doing anything. So I decided at PeachyCon 24 from Chris Peach from the Peach Chips channel, his convention, is to actually take that bits box up and basically give it away to all the other supporters of his channel, and just trying to get rid of as much as I could and just try and clear the decks of everything so I could move forward and then be collecting more items that I wanted for specific builds. Now, one of the aspects that's come along with this is the way in which now Games Workshop has licensed sprues and miniatures out to magazine subscription. So the main one we're going to be using for this is the Age of Sigmar one, the Stormbringer series. And as much as we're going to be using the Rippers models that are part of it, again, mainly because, so like in the first couple of editions of the magazine, when it was at a cheaper price, you got a good couple of sprues with a good couple of these models on it. And I'm always one to take a bit of a deal, so I was always, with this and the 40k one, normally buying 3 or 4 copies of the first magazine, just so I can build up a little collection of those models themselves. In fact, if you do look back over my Instagram feed, you will see that probably the last 6 months, those Rippers figures definitely have played a big part in being base models for a lot of the conversion, a lot of the kit bashing that I've been doing. So one of the kits was as well half of the kit about one of the riders of the big war beasts that the Rippers have available to them. Now this is where the magazine sprues come into their fore, is because realistically all I wanted to look at was a pair of legs that would be in more of a seated position, so not having to cut, file, reposition, go in and sculpt in to fill gaps, etc, etc. If I could find a pair of legs that was already in that position itself. And lucky enough, on one of the magazines with this rider of the large beast, it was available there. But what it meant was that I didn't have to go and buy the full kit to get access to that set of legs. I mean, admittedly, I could have gone somewhere like Bitsbox or another third-party seller on eBay or whatever, but I wasn't entirely sure whether I'd get the bit that I wanted. And to be honest, when the sprue comes on the magazine, sometimes there's other little bits that you'd wish you'd had as well. So for the price of, you know, the magazine itself with the single sprue, it's a good place to go to when you're trying to have a look at individual bits that you've already got in your mind that that's what you want to use. So from that as well, then it had the body of the model itself, so we could basically make the central legs and torso from the same kit, so we weren't going to be fighting against anything in terms of putting the main trunk of the miniature together, because to have, you know, strong torso, strong core to your model is going to make a lot of the other stuff that we're going to be doing with it a little bit easier to get round and a little bit easier to facilitate without having to put a lot of extra work into it. So once I've got the core, I wanted to get then the arms of the model put together. Now again, obviously one of them is going to be holding some kind of rudimentary fishing rod, and the other one could be there, you know, with it's like a bone in his hand, or taking the stuff that the fisherman is pulling up out of the water and dumping it in a crate that's next to him, or in the box that's next to him. I think we ended up for this build going for a barrel, and in that barrel we'll be throwing all these bits and pieces of these skeletons and whatever else he's able to drag up from the water. So with the one arm, the one that's going to be holding the bone, I had a look through again, so like the very limited bits box that I've got from previous ones, and I found some of the arms from the ghoul models that GW put out as part of the Flesh Eater Accord. So I'm not up to speed in the new different factions for everything, especially Age of Sigmar, unfortunately. So, you know, it was a good representation of still that type of emaciated body that you get with the Rippers, so it didn't look too much out of place or too muscular, etc, etc. Right length, right hand size, so it was just an easy attachment to the model itself. Now with the fishing rod end of it, I wanted to again go back to the Rippers kits, but this one I wanted back to one of the original or one of the first few editions of the Stormbringer magazine, because those ones that get offered about £2 or £3 for the magazine itself and normally come with quite a well stocked sprue of miniatures. So I'm very often with those type magazines when they first come out, especially the first copy, like so many of us do, would probably buy 2 or 3 copies just to build up that little a pile of parts that we've got available to us. I mean, if you look back and if you do follow along with my Instagram feed, you'd probably see that there has been a noticeable excess of those models being used as the baseline models for a number of conversions I've been doing along the way, and I've still got quite a lot more of the Mon sprues already that I could again use as the base model going forwards. I just think I like that emaciated type look that we get with the bodies, because I think you can not only use it in for the models they're supposed to be, for so like the green skins for the models as well, but I think they tie themselves quite a lot into Nurgle type models as well, where you're going to have the wasted away figures, not, you know, from disease and stuff like that. So they really work quite well with a lot of different avenues you can go with a build with. So the core of the model with the body and torso and with the upper arms are there. Now the arms themselves have been rudimentary attached to the shoulder points, because I'm going to offer at this point one of my top tips going forwards. Now what I'm going to do with these top tips is try and help you, or try and show you little things that I've picked up from various other builders and various other places that have made it easier for me to be carrying out the conversions and the kit bashes. Now, one of the ones we talked about in the October build, when we launched more or less this channel being more about the kit bashing, is if you're able to hide a joint, it's less work than if you're going to then have to go back in and resculpt, fill gaps, etc., with something that's going to be a bit more on show, because then it's going to take a bit more work, a bit more finessing, that you could get away with by just covering it with something else. Now with this, I sort of knew that I didn't want to go down the armor route about putting various shoulder pads and stuff like that on the model as well, because the baseline of the model didn't really key itself, and the storyline I was going through with the model didn't really key itself into that aspect. So I thought to myself about that I'm going to try and do some kind of weathered, ragged cloth type arrangement to the model itself, so I could basically manipulate it into various areas of the models, where not only is it going to fill the spare spaces of the models that are normally covered by other parts of the kit, but also means that those joints and those aspects where I put them together are not going to be as on show and as visible as they could be. Now for this, it's a relatively simple process and only contains really 2 component parts: kitchen paper towel, PVA glue, and that's pretty much it. So what we go about is we rip small sections off the kitchen towel itself, and what we then apply them to the model using the PVA glue. Using the PVA glue first of all to stick the or to give it its anchor to the model itself, but then again use the PVA glue to completely impregnate the paper towel, and that way we can manipulate it and move it around the model to make it look more like that ragged, distressed clothing or rags that's like a someone who lived in this ruined city might be forced into, and it might be give that derelict look to the figure that we're also going to get from the derelict look from the atmosphere or from the city of Mordheim, which we have to deal with when looking at its aesthetic. So what we can do, we can build up this layer of this clothing little bit by little bit until we're completely happy with what we've come up with. Now, eventually, what we've found, or what we were left with, is this model that had the colour from the paper towel and that bright shininess of the PVA glue itself. So it looked a bit more crystalline and stuff like that, a bit more gooey on the model itself, but that we're going to deal with in a minute. So once we're happy with the sort of the over the shoulder rags and stuff like that, it's time to have a go at the head of the model. So the pinnacle piece, which you'd see from most of my builds, that they always leave till last. Now, one of the areas that I've taken inspiration from is obviously the pages of the Mordheim book and the illustrations. And you will find in the pages and those bits of artwork, there is a high number of jesters' hats. So the carnival type medieval jester, three-pronged horn hats. It seems that there is a number of the the illustrations of the characters from this city. It seems to be a lot of them are wearing them. So let's go down that route and let's have a look about that type of headgear that we could get away with. Now, we could go and search through some third-party manufacturers, and we could go and have a look at places like Etsy, for example. And I'm sure there would be someone somewhere along the line who offered the head with that piece of headgear as its style. And please, if there is, leave a link below if you know of anywhere where we could find one. But again, this is not the ethos of this channel. This ethos is of keep bashing and conversion. So this is where now we're going to turn to our secondary kit that we're going to be using for this build. And we're going to be using 3 heads from the a Night Goblin, Squig Riders sprue. We're going to be using one of the heads fully, and we're going to eventually sort of rotate the way that its cowl is sitting to, instead of flowing backwards, to flow more forwards, because it seems that always with the jester's hats that they're pointing a bit more forwards on the model itself. And then what we're going to do, we're going to get another 2 of the same type of heads, cut off the ends of the cowls on each one and stick them on at the 90-degree angles to the central one that's coming up the top of the head. So hopefully when we put it all together, we end up arriving at this tricorn horned jester's type cap that we've got, that then hopefully ties in to the aesthetic that we've got in the pages of the Mordheim book. One of the other ones as well, you might notice if you have a look at it, again, there's a predominance of people who seem to have lost legs in the Mordheim book, and there's definitely a lot of people who are walking around are even 1 or even 2 peg legs. So I thought, well, if we're taking the inspiration from the book, then obviously we have to put that in as well. So what you'll see, if you have a look closely at the model when it's finished, see if you can spot which leg has been taken off below the knee. So once the head's attached and we're happy with the position and have test fitted it into position to make sure that it's going to work, it's time to go into that final stage, and that final stage of painting. Now with this is not my strong point. There are far better painters than me, and I will never ever go down the route of trying to offer you any kind of advice in painting going forwards, because, you know, speed paints and GW contrast paints is my bag. So, but what I wanted to show you here is a lot of the times you can only really see how a model is going to visually work is when it is all one uniform colour, rather than sort of like various other kits, various different kits having a different hue. Again, the use of that the paper that the paper towel we've used for the cloths, etc., etc. Until you get it all one uniform colour or one uniform stage within the painting process, it's not really till you see the whole thing come together. So the first step is to get it to the point at which where it's a bit more of a zenithal stroke slap chop point, just before we're going to start then adding in the colours for our miniature itself, and to get it to the where we need to get it to in terms of happy with it for the entry of the competition. Now, the colours that I've got about choosing. Now, I could go a bit whole hog with this, but again, this is going to go into the grimdark competition. So I thought to myself, well, when we're looking at Mordheim itself, a lot of Mordheim does have a set hue to it. Again, a lot of the artwork within the pages of the magazines was John Blanch's, and we all know that he's got his Zorn palette that he likes to make use of in a lot of his artwork. So those ochres, reds, browns, and a little bit of black is probably the way that we're going to, well, it's not probably, it is the way that we decided to go in terms of the palette that we were going to use for finalising this figure. So those aspects of all those colours were applied through various applications of the different speed paint from Army Painter or from GW's contrast paints, until we ended up with the baseline colours on the model itself. Now, with this, wanting to go down the route of the application of another couple of techniques to bring it into place to finalise the miniature off. So we're going to be using an oil wash and use that reductive technique to take the surface of the oil off until it's only left in the recesses. And we're also going to apply things like weathering powders of very different colours to especially the feet, to bits of the body, to the hat, etc., etc., to try and bring it a little bit more in line and give it a little bit more of a depth of colour to the model, so it's hopefully going to sell the aesthetic of the model a little bit more. Now, one of the new ones that we've decided to make use of in this build, a new medium, to put the word, is from the Grimdark Compendium and their Villainy Ink series. It's small range at the moment, but I believe there's a second stage of the range coming out. If not, again, now will be within the next couple of days, the next couple of weeks, and their Vitality Ink series. For this is a medium that doesn't require a heavy hand, and at such a small application of them in key areas is going to do a lot more for the model than what would be like the oil wash and the reductive technique being all over the model. And it'll just add aspects and just like depths of different colours into different areas of the models, that when you are moving around and looking at the model itself, you'll pick up on in various bits of light, etc., etc. So once a model is painted and attached, the fishing line is put on by the bit of chain, and basically our protagonist is ready to go fishing in Mordheim and seeing what he can catch. So let's have a look at the finalised entry and let's see what you think. So this diorama is something that I've had sort of burning a little bit of a hole in my brain for a good couple of months since the announcement of this Mordheim competition came to the fore on the Facebook page, and it's something that I've been working towards gathering bits for and hoping to get together over these last few months. And it's just this last month that I've actually honed in on getting it together and to be able to share with you as content for this channel. So the entry date to the competition has passed now since this video is going out at the beginning of December, and the entry to the competition ended in November. Now, I'm one who does not enter competitions with any aspects of winning the competition, but as long as I can create something and share something within the community of builders that have come together for this competition, and the community of artists that have come together for that condition, and I can hold my head up and say, yeah, so you know, my piece doesn't look too far out of kilter with whatever's going on. And to be honest, the feedback that I've been getting from the community itself, having posted pictures of the final piece, have, you know, lightened my heart in terms of that I've actually done a good job with this diorama. So hopefully, you never know, going down the line there might be some good news to share towards the end of the year. It's whenever the competition is announced itself. Now, what I'm looking at doing is for the next video is hopefully I'm going to have a look at the other entries that have been made into the competition, and to share with you a number of the entries from the different categories, and you and me can come up with what we like and what our favourites would have been, and see if our favourites can actually marry in to the who has been successful in the competition itself. So until next time, get the bits box out, let's get building, and remember, the Patreon is up and running. There's the Patreon's only Discord channel that's waiting for you guys to jump in on, to start sharing these builds that you're doing with everybody else, to add into the growth of the channel's community as well. So it'd be nice to have you on board. But again, if you don't want to join the Patreon, no harm, no foul. Just please give us a like and subscribe to the channel, because it all helps with us moving forwards and reaching other people who might be interested in what we're talking about here on From Dungeons to Starships. But until next time, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.